That now brings us to our council reports. Councilman Witz. Councilwoman Bender.
I would like to take a moment and ask you all to keep the Mizawi family in your thoughts and prayers. Dr. Hugh Mizawi was one of the first dentists here in Snellville. He's been in practice for years. His children have now all taken over his business. They're located right here on Highway 78, and he passed away on Saturday from cancer. And I just ask you all to keep that family in your prayers. I know they need your love and support at this point. You know, based on everything that's going on, I think it's clear that we're clearly in turmoil, and we need to find a way to get these legal arguments and these opinions clarified, and ask for the citizens just to continue with your support and with your diligence, with watching what's going on, and bearing with us as we work through these issues.
Councilman Emanuel.
I think more than enough has been said about the current issue. I would like to just let people know that one of our long-term police officers, Captain Harold Thomas, has retired. He's had been with the city for over 25 years and had done an excellent job, and he has retired, and I just want to thank him for his service.
Councilman Kraus.
Good evening. I had planned to share a few things from my trip to Israel, but I think I'll postpone it in lieu of the problems this evening. So I will be happy to share those at another time. Thank you.
Councilman Howard.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all for coming out and spending the evening with us. You know, one of the things that I want to continue to do, you know, that's important to me is just talking about the good things that's going on in our city. And I'm simply going to do that. Any opportunity I get, any event I get to attend in a capacity that I can support and volunteer. And, you know, we've got some hills to climb, and we'll climb them, and I'll depend on the opportunity that flag gives us right over there to get our opportunity to show our cause, and let the courts decide, you know, where we need to go with that. And you know, I'll just stand before you like a man like everybody else, and that's exactly how I'll do it. But I want to wish y'all a happy new year. I will always conclude this portion of my comments with shop local and be safe going home. Thanks.
Now for the mayor's report, two rumors I've heard out there recently I want to clarify. One, I have moved my law office. I have not closed my law office. We've just moved right down the street. I know there was some questions about that, even regarding the city clerk appointment. The second thing is, over Christmas, I did have a minor heart surgery. I am fine. The city manager actually called a meeting of the council December 30th, and I had my heart procedure on the 28th, and I was there despite doctor's orders to have some bed rest. So I'm dedicated to being your mayor. My blood pressure is excellent. The procedure had nothing to do with any bypass or pacemaker or blocked arteries or anything else that's appeared on any blogs. It was merely an arrhythmia that the doctor has corrected, and I am fine and fit to hold office. So even though there's been some rumors otherwise, I am not unfit to hold office. Thank you. One last thing, I just want to reiterate the Martin Luther King Day celebration on January 20th. We have been working very hard to pull off a turkey dinner for 200 people. So please, we want everyone to come together. If there's ever a need more for unity in our community, it is now. And so come together and march with us on Monday, January 20th, and show that we can pull together in times of need. With that, I will conclude my mayor's report and open it up for public comment. Please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Doug Dahl. I'm Ms. Richardson's attorney. Ms. Richardson stands ready to assume her position that you appointed her to. She expects her salary as budgeted by this council previously. I do disagree intensely with a couple of points raised by my respected brother at the bar, Mr. Powell. Ms. Arnold is an employee at will, as he read in, I believe, section 2.62 of the city charter. You have the absolute authority under 3.13 to appoint Ms. Richardson. And at this point in time, we would ask and request and frankly demand that Ms. Richardson be given the city seal as she appropriately has been appointed. Any resolutions, including the one that was just passed as J, are in severe jeopardy of not being valid resolutions of this council, as there is not a appointed city clerk at this point in time. There is no provision under the city charter to appoint a temporary city clerk. My comments of that, Ms. Richardson stands ready to assume her position and will be reporting to work as directed. Thank you.
State your name and address.
I'm Jared S. Blankenship, 2867 Overwood Lane. Approximately a year ago, we started on HDA. I've been promised 2 to 3 meetings. I don't see no meetings, and there's been no action by the council, even to ask questions, except for one, what we can do to solve it, and it was supposed to be a meeting sometime in October or December, 2 or 3. But I think it's time after a year, and I think it's important that ADA has rights, and the people that has handicaps, not just me as my hearing and other handicaps, that this council should think about taking this up and trying to solve the problem of how to help the handicapped people in this city, which with me, I don't know who, but a great deal has annoyed me for approximately 11 months to 12 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blankenship.
I'm Sharon Hetherington, 1953 Colony Ridge Drive, Snellville. Mayor Counts, your actions are hurting the city in numerous ways, including wasting the taxpayers' money. Stop today. If you need help with anger issues or whatever drives you, get some. Examine why you cannot get along with those you work with. Change your behaviors. I say this, Mayor, out of concern and with respect. The council and those who oppose your actions are good, ethical people. They want a healthy working relationship with each other, with you, with the volunteers, with the city. We all share a common goal. To this audience that's here tonight, it's wonderful that you are here. Please return to every meeting. Go online and watch the previous council meetings on the city's website. I'm asking you to please do this. When you go back and do so, you will see exactly who the bully is, who repeatedly violates the charter, and who is set on dividing this city. Hearing the comments and the applause in the back of the room, I can only assume that you have been told half-truths and outright lies. Mayor, you just said that you want unity in the community. You also accused this council of hatred. How dare you? How dare you incite the people with such a statement? Stop these behaviors now. To the council and the residents of Snellville, I say, keep calm and carry on. One other question for you, Mayor. why didn't you hire a purchasing agent and allow Melissa to carry on in the more important position of city clerk if she has so ably done her job? Lots of questions, but that's the only one that I'll ask at this time. Thank you.
Ms. Richardson is experienced as a city
Ms.
clerk.
Couch, you are not allowed to comment,
Ms.
remember?
Richardson is experienced as a city clerk. Ms. Arnold is an experienced purchasing agent. And it is not within the mayor's authority to hire a purchasing agent. That is with the authority of the city manager. Thank you for your comments, Ms. Hetherington.
I'm not quite done, Mayor. Is this what you want? Is this what you want? And for those of you who are speaking over the mayor and me, what you don't know is that during public comments, the council and the mayor is not allowed, again, violating, is it the charter? Excuse me, Ms.
Hetherington,
Couch,
it's
excuse
not-
me, Ms. Couch, I'm speaking right now. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. The mayor and the council is not allowed to reply to,
Thank you, Mr. Don. Mayor Pro Tem Witz, actually, the chair is the parliamentarian unless there's another parliamentarian elected, and there hasn't been one elected for this council. Ms. Hetherington, as chair of the meeting, I can decide who speaks and when they speak. It's the chair's authority to recognize someone for speaking. There is nothing in the charter that says that the mayor cannot respond during public comments. That is a decision of the chair. But thank you for your comments and your concerns. If you have anything else to say, now is your time.
one quick thing. At the last, was it the last meeting, the meeting when all of the students were here from South, you said that you were not allowed to answer questions. And then you
And
replied
if you-
again, you're interrupting me, you replied again to my comment, and here you are again tonight. That's all I have
Ms.
to say.
Hetherington, and if you remember, after the student from South Gwinnett, we did answer his question, and I even allowed Councilman Witz and I believe Councilman Howard to speak to his question as well.
I don't
Thank you
recall
for
that.
your comments, Ms. Hetherington. I appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Barbara Mostyn. I live at 2295 Sussex Court, Snellville. Been a citizen of this city for 29 years. I'm appalled at what goes on here. I'd like to know if this resolution that was just passed does not allow the mayor on the second floor, does not allow the mayor to do the things that I would expect a mayor to be able to do. I also wondered when the contract was given to the new city manager, he was on, as I understood it, a probationary contract. I have never worked in a corporation where there was not an evaluation done at the end of a probationary period to determine whether that person is in fact the person we need to go forward with. But apparently that was done. And then my third comment was, if he can get a raise like that without it being in the budget, what about the people who work here every day, who live in this area and whose money goes back into what Mr. Howard suggested buy locally? Why are they not getting a raise? And truly, they have not been getting raises if you are honest with yourself. So I think there's a great deal that needs to happen here. And I think that every single one of you standing up here or sitting up here really needs to think about, is it possible to get along? I know 5 or 6 of you get along, but is it possible? And I would think for the good of this community that it would be very important for you to find a way to do this. Thank you.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Carol Hall of 1720 Tuffstown Court of this city, where everybody is supposed to be somebody. I am a tax-paying, property-owning citizen of this city. I am also a graduate of the Snellville Citizens Police Academy, just listing my credentials. For months, I have sat in silence and listened, read and observed the tomfoolery going on in City Council and the severe strife that exists between the mayor and certain City Council members. I have often wanted to say something and do something, but upon observing how severely those that have spoken against the powers that be here in this fine city have been treated, and considering issues in my personal life that warrants my time and energy more than this, I've kept silent. However, the recent events that have occurred required that I be silent no more. It is my hopes that by voicing my opinion publicly, myself nor members of my family will not be retaliated against nor mistreated in any fashion or form. I hope that the powers that be will not stalk or bully me in real life or in cyberspace, as you began to do 6 months ago when I had the courage to speak out for the first time. I am a federal government employee, and as such, I have not had a pay raise in 5 years. That is public knowledge. This was in spite of me receiving exceptional ratings in my performance appraisal for my entire 8-year tenure at my agency, and just this past year receiving the highest rating of outstanding. And just now in 2014, that a pay increase has been authorized, it is a mere 1%. I bring this up because I was absolutely flabbergasted when I learned that the city manager of this city, where everyone is supposed to be somebody, will be receiving a $25,000 raise. Not with an outstanding rating, not with an exceptional rating, not even with a meets requirements rating, but with no performance rating at all. I contemplated that matter and compared his scenario to mine of being an outstanding employee and only receiving a 1% pay raise over a 5-year period. And it just did not make any logical sense to me. Then I further learned that his entire staff was in my same boat. They had not seen a pay increase in years. I contemplated the matter even further. I considered the average Joe and Susan like me, who doesn't earn that much to begin with, who have families to support, mortgages to pay, and city taxes to pay. And I just became infuriated that the average Sally and Joe like myself, who do most of the work, would be disregarded. And because of this, I stand here before you today. Irregardless of how the city charter is interpreted, I do not think that the city manager should receive such an exorbitant raise after being in his position for a mere 16 months and without a performance appraisal. I have been in my position for 8 years, and to date I have not received a $25,000 pay raise. Many of the employees of this city, I'm sure, have been in their positions for more than 16 months and have not seen a $25,000 pay raise. In this city, where everybody is somebody, why then is there such a disparity of the granting of pay raises within the Ferry City offices? Another reason why I feel justified in standing here today and speaking out against this matter is because, like I said, I am a tax-paying property owner of this city who resides within the city limits of Snellville. Some of you had asked that 6 months ago when I made a commentary, and you researched it. Here is my bill. I also own a small business and pay taxes and fees for that. Here is my bill that just came in the mail, the first of the year, on time. So it concerns me how my tax dollars are being spent. It concerns me if favoritism and cronyism is standard practice and the way things are done in this city. I am surprised, in fact, that the city manager would allow himself to be granted such favor over his hardworking employees. I am surprised that he did not simply turn down such generous but exorbitant raise and squelch the matter just like that. Or even better, he could have ordered that $25,000 raise to be distributed throughout his office. In this current depressed economic state of affairs, a time of furloughs and sequestrations nationwide, I find it surprising that a governing body like yourselves would be so unempathetic to the plight of the average worker and bestow such generosity upon one employee. So I stand before you today, and I've expressed my concerns. But my military background, hoorah, having served this great country in the United States Army, and being a 14-year veteran of such, requires me to propose a solution to solve a problem. The solution I propose is to remove the decision-making power regarding this matter from the entire hands of City Council and place in the hands of the citizens of Snellville. I wonder if you will have the courage to hand over power of this matter to the tax-paying citizens of this city, where all of us are supposed to be somebody. In closing, I would like to say to those who are going to assume that I am being used and a pawn by those they perceive to be their contenders, and that I was coaxed on my words today, let me make it clear that all that I state here is based solely on observation, reading all of your blogs, malicious blogs, and listening to the tomfoolery of this city where you purport everybody is supposed to be somebody. I have a degree in fine arts, writing, and English, and I'm an excellent writer and orator. So these are my words, and it only took 30 minutes for me to compose this right before this meeting, once I made up my mind that I wanted to speak. And I wanted to state everything that was on my mind clearly and succinctly without forgetting a thing. That's why I wrote it down. I say this because 6 months ago, when I first dared to have a voice in this great city, where everybody is supposed to be somebody, you speculated on all of the above. You don't think that anyone else in Snellville but the chosen few are smart enough to have a voice and opinion that is unique only to themselves. Now, to truly close, let me remind you that I am somebody in this city where everybody is supposed to be somebody. Thank you.
My name is Josh McClarty. I live at 2974 Williams Place. I decided to say something tonight because I've lived in Snellville since 1987, long when I was a little kid, almost like my daughter, who's been very patient while we've gone through this tonight. But I have to say there was a period of time where Snellville, I moved away, and it wasn't a place that I wanted to come back to. Several years ago, that started changing, and my family did come back. I'm raising my girls here. We're actually back where I grew up. The one thing that it's obvious there's always going to be disagreement. There's always going to be things we agree on and don't agree on. However, the idea that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And sometimes you can do things differently and still get the same point across. While I support a lot of the people that are up here, and I agree with a lot of the things that are going on, I don't agree with the embarrassment it brings the city as a whole. For everyone that I do agree with, everyone that I disagree with, it doesn't really matter which side you fall on. If Snellville is being embarrassed in the press when the news is here because a city council meeting makes the news, there's a lot to be said from that. And that's embarrassing for the city and for me to want to live here and to want this to be a good place. So my request and my comment to all the council members and the mayor is that just because you can doesn't mean you always should. And sometimes just because you can, just don't. You don't have to. Or just wait it out. Present it. There's so many politically correct ways, and I hate that term. There's so many nice ways to go about things without trying to prove a point, without trying to make your case where everyone can actually agree and say Snellville can be represented for the good city that it is. Thank you.
I'm horrible at public speaking, so I had to write it down. My name is Patty Tyson, and I live at 2225 Springdale Drive. Mayor, Council, and Council, I stand before you tonight once again dismayed by the continued actions of the mayor. In a one-week period, Mayor Couts has overstepped her authority twice and has managed to put the city of Snellville in the news in a negative and embarrassing light. In doing this, she's also put Chief Whitehead in the middle of a horrible situation with the firing of the city manager. Then again on Friday, January 10th, the city clerk was fired and placed in the position of purchasing agent, which I understand is a non-budgeted position with the city. I'm curious how funding the salary required for this new position will be found. My other concern is what qualifications does the new city clerk have? This action seems to be in direct violation of part of the city code that deals with the city clerk that says the mayor and city council shall, beginning at each year, appoint a city clerk. And it is, during your statement in the November 11th city council meeting, I went back and I watched the video. And Mayor Couch, you stated, and I quote, that the animosity and bickering between both sides has not been healthy, and the election was God's way of trying to teach me a lesson, and you have to learn to work with everybody, even if you don't like them, and respect them. So that is what I plan on doing for the next 2 years. I think we all need to heal and we all need to move forward, and that's what I plan on doing for the next 2 years, end quote. I'm sure that there are many here tonight that agree with me that the mayor should go back and listen to this video from that council meeting and follow her own advice. Thank you.
Ms. Tyson, you are correct. I did say that, and I think you blogged about that, and I do stand by that quote. However, if you were at the last council meeting, you would have been present when I said it was difficult when council springs things 3 minutes before a vote, like a $20,000 raise for a city manager to work together when there's a lack of communication. I think we've already discussed that, and as chair, I get to recognize who speaks and who doesn't. So thank you for your comments, and you have a good evening as well. Mr. Warner.
I did. Madam Mayor, council members, I want to actually come up here and commend you this evening on your decorum. Many of the people in the room probably don't know, because I haven't seen many of them here before. My former position was Councilman Warner. I spent 4 years here. I served with Ms. Bender, Mr. Witz, Ms. Couts. The other members up here I have worked with in other ways. When they were on Planning Commission, I've supported them. I've come to various meetings. I currently serve on the Planning Commission and the Urban Redevelopment Authority. And when I first started on council, and I'm sure Ms. Couch will back me up on this, we were about as contentious a lot as you could find. There were stories in the paper of people having to be walked to the bathroom because of physical threats by other council members. There was name calling, there was screaming and yelling and shouting down one another on the dais up there, and I want to commend you on the fact that even though this has been about as dissentious a meeting as I can remember, you kept your cool. You didn't call each other names, other than a couple of times that the crowd has called out, and they were never gavelled down and told to stay under decorum. I've been very impressed with the way everybody here has controlled themselves. Now, one thing that seems to come up over and over again, and I apologize, I'm just speaking from my heart. I don't have anything written down. I didn't plan on speaking tonight, and I know some people won't believe that, but it's true. Especially the people who are usually here. The city manager that preceded Mr. Sanders cost this city considerably more a year than Mr. Sanders is. And when Mr. Sanders came on, he took a lesser amount than his previous employer to come to work for our great city. And the reason behind that was we kind of felt burned before, and we wanted, this is the take I got from my fellow friends on council, we wanted to make sure that we weren't buying a pig in the poke, because sometimes you hire somebody and they just don't live up to expectations. Well, luckily, Mr. Sanders has lived up to expectations. You're eating into my time. Stop it. Really. I got comments to make. Stop that. It keeps being said that Mr. Sanders is going to get $25,000 more a year. Well, Mr. Sanders' new contract started halfway through our fiscal year, and I believe, since I have looked at the budget and gone through the line items, Mr. Sanders is actually going to cost the city $7,500 more this year than the previous year. Now, his contract may have escalation clauses as it goes on. I was not given a copy of the contract, sadly. They don't ask for me to review things anymore. But the number being thrown around, about $25,000, is a bunch of horse hockey. The other thing is, we have had a downsizing. Our former HR person is no longer with the city, and that person was making over $3,000 a month, and I believe that position has been vacant for a little period of time, so there is some money that is there to take care of Mr. Sanders' increase in salary. This is also usually the meeting that mayor and council will amend the budget halfway through the year. I mean, it's normal course of business. We make up a budget. It starts July 1st, and surprisingly, we're not always perfect, and so we amend the budget usually at this meeting, and that's a place where Mr. Sanders' increase in salary would be handled. Also, the increase in insurance and shortfalls or overages in tax collections, that's all handled now, and then at the end of the year, we justify the budget again, or at least that's the way it's always been done. So throwing around that he's getting all this extra money is a little bit disingenuous. Lost my train of thought. I know it's hard to believe. But I do want to commend you on the fact that you're at least not screaming and yelling at one another. And please try to resolve these issues. It's very important to me as a citizen, as it is to everyone else here who's shown up. And I just would ask that my fellow citizens, rather than just reading what you see on a blog or a blurb in the paper or an email that you get, if you could go back and look at the actual meetings, they're on video, online, and really follow what's going on in the city. I love the fact that this room is full tonight. There's nothing better than a full house when I get up here to speak. But it's more important that y'all understand what's actually happening rather than the little dribs and drabs of information. Because the only thing that I pushed for my 4 years on council was that we be open and transparent. And I requested over and over and over again that nothing come before council unless it had been on a work session agenda the meeting before. The same should be said for any sort of change in the city manager or the city clerk. If you do it without anybody's knowledge beforehand, people are gonna assume the worst. You could bring Jesus Christ himself in here and put him up for something, but if you didn't tell anybody who was coming, they're gonna assume that he's somebody other than who you say he is. So please, communicate to one another, communicate to us. And I apologize for going about 40 seconds over time.
Mr.
Thank
Warner,
you, ma'am.
state your name and address for the record.
I wrote it down.
Thank you.
My name is Todd Warner, and I live at 3144 Turf Terrace. Thank you.